Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome to another episode of Breaking Brews. This time it's the deck tech on Black Panther, Wakandan King. Oh yeah, I'm super excited. Uh this commander, how will I summarize him? He is a monster on turn two. If you plan on playing with him, plan on playing him on turn two and throwing all permanents on the battlefield. This is also a recommendation for new players playing green-white. You will be playing a bunch of permanents, and you need the protection spells like Heroic Intervention to keep your permanents on the battlefield. I want you to imagine this is Wakanda, and you're literally recreating the army. When it's time for a Black Panther and the squad to come out, that's what you're doing with the Black Panther Wakandan King. He's only 2 mana, green white, 2/2 body, human noble hero. He has first strike. My God, that we just, do you see how long this paragraph is? On a what? How long is tall is the card? 3 or 4 inches. Look how much text that is. I'm about to make it bigger so you can see and I can read the abilities. Like I said, your commander, Black Panther's got first strike. So if you're going Voltron, you already got first strike. 2/2 body. The ability, Survey the Realm. Whenever Black Panther or another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target land you control. So when he enters the battlefield on turn two, you put a +1/+1 counter on a land already. You're starting off on turn two with a +1/+1 counter on a land. What? Anyways, second ability, Mind Vibranium, tap 3 mana. You can do this multiple times. Move all +1/+1 counters from target land you control onto target creature. If one or more +1/+1 counters are moved this way, you gain that much life and draw a card. The last card I'm showing you at the end of this video, this is important when it says you gain that much life. I can't give away the secrets yet. Anyways, let me show you how you can win with Black Panther, the Wakandan King. So we got a couple strategies here. We got the go wide strategy. In order to even operate, pilot this deck with Black Panther, you need to make creatures. The more creatures you got, the more +1/+1 counters are on target land. And that's the more counters you can move onto other creatures. And it's a lot of counters. I just imagine it's a bunch of counters. Enough to swing for commander damage, enough to swing with 10/10s and 20/20s. It can get absurd. Next up, we have Animate Lands. What I mean by that, if you're a new player, you can make lands into creatures, either at instant speed, sorcery speed, or a creature's activated ability can transform a land and keep it as a land, but it's also a creature. That's important. Next up, we got Voltron. That's pretty obvious, right? You can utilize all the creatures, and there's artifacts, equipments, and enchantments that say +1/+1 for each creature you control. You can boost its power, but I got other stuff for you. That's just in general. Next up, these two are flavorful. I know somebody's going to be out there and they're going to make a human tribal and a cat tribal. We know that. We know that. Somebody's going to make that flavor deck build. So I'm just going to get the party started with a couple cards from those two tribals. Well, first, let's go to Go White strategy. Okay, we're going to start off with the Black Panther promo card. It's literally Primal Vigor, but the card is called Bast Blessings. For 5 mana, it's an enchantment. If one or more tokens would be created, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. With Bast Strengths, I will defend this land. What else do I need to say? This is a staple card. Moving on. Anointed Procession, another staple card for Selesyna when you're making tokens. For 4 mana, it's enchantment. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. These are staples. I'm moving on. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit more cards for your go wide strategy. Awaken the Woods. It's X and tap 2 green. It's a sorcery. Create X/1/1 green forest dryad land creature tokens. Wow. This card is really good because most players underestimate or don't know that you're making lands and creatures at the same time. Shout out the future. Um, yeah. So green forest lands, but they're 1/1 dryad creature tokens. So whenever you put X on the battlefield, if you put 5 in it, you got 5 new lands and 5 1/1s. Moving on. Visions of Glory. For 5 mana, it's a sorcery. I really like this card because of flashback. It says create a 1/1 white human creature token for each creature you control. This is a perfect card once you got a board state of like maybe 3, 5 creatures, and you tap 5 mana, bam, you got another 5. Easy. It has a flashback cost of 10. It looks expensive. This spell costs X less to cast this way, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own on the commander on the battlefield or in the command zone. Okay, cool. Black Panther's only 2 mana, so you're really only paying 6 to do this. Not bad to repeat this ability. So our previous example, we had 5. We cast Visions of Glory the first time. We made another 5. That is a total of 10. Cast a flashback cost. Whoa, we got an extra 10. A total of 20 creatures on the battlefield. Not only are they on the battlefield, they ETB'd with Black Panther. So you're making those +1/+1 counters that you're adding onto the land. So what I would like to say is you're just trying to increase the rate exponentially of creatures to make his ability, Black Panther's ability, the creature fall ability, greater and make more counters. So the reason why Black Panther is such a good card because he has a low CMC. You will be able to do this multiple times. Yes, your opponents will target Black Panther, but guess what? He comes back. You only pay him 4 mana the next time. The command attacks is only 2 extra. This is what makes him powerful. You will consistently be able to cast your commander. Okay, Legion of Loyalty is going to make your board state get out of control. If you have Black Panther on the battlefield and you drop this on here and you go to combat, you are making more tokens for each creature you control, and they're attacking each opponent. Let me explain. Legion of Loyalty for 8 mana, enchantment, creatures you control have myriad. Whenever a creature with myriad attacks for each opponent other than the defending player, you may create a token that's a copy of that creature that's tapped in attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. Exile the tokens at end of combat. So essentially, I have 5 creatures. I swing all of them at player B. Okay? And if they have myriad, I am making 2 more tokens of each one. So that is a total, actually, an additional, 2, 4, 10 creatures, 20 creatures that you can use with Black Panther for his ETB, his creature fall ability. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to do math on the fly as I do this, but you see these videos are just raw, straight up. So with all these creatures, we got to do something with them. If you're new to Magic, green is notorious for overrun effects. Overrun effects are boosting the power of creatures and giving it trample. Straight up. That's called overrun because the card overrun is known to do that. Anyway, here's another Black Panther promo card. Secure the Waste. Instant, create X/1/1 white warrior creature tokens. Let's move on. Okay. This card is nasty right here. Blossoming Bog Beast. For 5 mana, it's a 3/3 beast. It says whenever Blossoming Bog Beast attacks, you gain 2 life. Then creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. I need you to remember Black Panther's ability. When you tap 3, you move the counters from target land onto a creature. You gain that much life and you draw a card. So if you move 10 counters, that's 10 life. Okay, so you gain 10 life and an extra 2 life when Bog Beast attacks. That's a total of 12 life. Creatures you control get +12/+12 and trample. This is game ending. No need to explain. Overrun, and we're trying to end the game. If you don't have Blossoming Bog Beast, we have a replacement. Wild Beastmaster for 3 mana, lower CMC. Whenever Wild Beastmaster attacks, each other creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Wild Beastmaster's power. Don't fret, because you can move all those counters from target land onto creature, and you move it on to Wild Beastmaster, and if she is a 11/11, all your creatures you control get +11/+11. Disgusting. One more replacement for you for an overrun effect. We got Pathbreaker Ibex for 6 mana. It's a 3/3 goat. Whenever it attacks, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This is important because if you use Black Panther's ability, make sure you move the counters before you attack. So by the time you attack, you get this trigger. And whatever creature is the highest powered creature you control, creatures you control get that much power additional. Next up, we got the Ozolith. I had to put this in here because you got to save and protect these counters. For 1 mana, it's a legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. Just expect your creatures to be removed. It's also good to note, if a player exiles your creature with counters on it, those counters still go to the Ozolith. So exile, destroy, you are saving the counters. The only way they can get rid of these counters if the counters are on the Ozolith and they destroy the Ozolith. Okay. Next, it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. You may. So you might want to plan your strategy of attack accordingly. Next up, we got to talk about Animate Lands. So let me put it like this. Black Panther's ability says tap 3 mana, move all +1/+1 counters from target land. That land is not a creature. That land is not a creature. So literally, with green, you can make lands into creatures. So I feel like you can use Animate Lands as combat tricks. When opponent thinks you are open, you are not open, because these Animate Land tricks, a lot of them are at instant speed or activated abilities that you can tap at instant speed or activate at instant speed. Let me get to the first one. Disturbed Slumber for 2 mana from the Ixalan set. Lost Captains. It's an instant. Until end of turn, target land you control becomes a dinosaur. A 4/4 dinosaur creature with reach and haste. It's still a land and must be blocked this turn if able. Why this is important is because it has reach. You know how many times you played a game where an opponent sees your board with no blockers, or you have blockers but nobody has flyers, or you have no flyers, and they come at you? Bam, you have an answer right here. So imagine that land that has 10+1/+1 counters on it is just chilling. And your opponent's flying in with, let's just say, Storm from the Marvel set. They think they're going to get an easy combat trigger. You're like, hell nah, player. I got tap 2 mana, turn my land into a 4/4 dinosaur with reach and haste, and those 10+1/+1 counters, that's a 14/14. Your opponent is very disappointed that they failed swinging with Storm. Moving on. We got Kamal, Heart of Krosa, a 5/5 legendary creature, human druid, 8 mana. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. Easy. Tap 2 mana until end of turn, target land you control becomes a 1/1 elemental creature with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. It's still a land. Tap this 2 at any time. This is literally Disturb Slumber on a creature, activated ability. On combat, your creatures get overrun effects, ending the game. Oh. My bad. I actually put Disturb Slumber again. I'm going to leave it there. Just don't mind it. On to the left, we have Undo Rising for 2 mana. It's a sorcery. I like this card. It says whenever a creature attacks this turn, it gains lifelink until end of turn. What? You attack with 2 creatures, each of those creatures get lifelink? That's a good way of gaining life. But what I really like about it, it has the Awaken 4 ability. It says tap 5 mana. If you cast this spell for 5 mana, also put 4+1/+1 counters on target land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. So you're literally making a 4/4, and you can do this at instant speed, It does not say it must be done at sorcery. You can do this at instant speed. So a 4/4 creature land instant speed is a little bit more expensive than Disturbed Slumber, but the first ability, creatures that attack against lifelink. So back to the Voltron. What are we gonna do with Voltron? Voltron is when you focus attacking your opponents with your commander only. But it don't always have to be only. Anyways, we got Power Fist for 2 mana, green artifact equipment. It says equipped creature has trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Equip 2. This is a no-brainer. The more damage you do, the more counters you get to put on, let's say, Black Panther. And don't forget, he already has first strike. Moving on to the Ozolith, the Shattered Spire. For 2 mana, it's a legendary artifact. If one or more +1/+1 counters will be put on an artifact or creature you control, that many +1 counters are put on it instead. Tap 2 and tap it. Put a +1/+1 counter on target artifact or creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Cycling 2. First off, I like this card because it has cycling. Of all things, cycling. You pay 2 mana and draw a card. It's just important. Mid game, late game, and you need to see an extra card, cool, you can cycle it. But when you're moving counters, you just get an additional counter. Whenever you're doing counter tricks or proliferating, you just get an additional counter. And even when it says put 1/+1 counter on a target artifact or creature, you're putting 2 because of its triggered ability. Sneaky. Death's Presence is a 6 mana enchantment. The reason why I put this in here because I imagine the philosophy of green. It's just a cycle of life, right? So your commander is going to get removed, and we're trying to not reinvent the cycle of life, but display the cycle of life. Black Panther is going to get removed because players will try to get it, and also Black Panther gets replaced with another Black Panther and another Black Panther. You know how it goes in the whole storyline. Anyways, whenever a creature you control dies, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the power of that creature that died. Yeah, so this is sneaky good because you're creating +1/+1 counters in a different way. You're not relying on Black Panther to make counters or creatures to enter the battlefield with Black Panther. It's just whenever a creature dies, their power, you create counters and you put them on another creature. Moving on. Mace of the Valiant. For 3 mana artifact equipment, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Mace of the Valiant and has Vigilance. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a charge counter on Mace of the Valiant. Equip 3. You're going to be making a lot of creatures. That is the point of this deck, is to make an army. So yes, this artifact is going to reward you for the amount of creatures you put into play, and you make that many charge counters, and you equip a creature with this, and if you put in a total of 10 creatures sometime that game, you got at least a 10/10 on the artifact equipment. Swing. Just know, when you're playing green, it's going to be big creatures. Just don't worry about all these counters and stuff. The question is, can your opponents handle a 10/10? Can your opponent handle a 7/7? Can your opponent have enough blockers to survive? If the answer is no, keep playing green. Keep smashing. Keep playing Overrun Effects. Yes, so you're out there and you're trying to make this a human tribal deck. I know y'all out there. I know y'all out there. We got Sigarda's Herring Grace. So of course, he's going to be human tribal. Anyways, 5 mana. It's an angel, green, white, 3/4/5 body, flyer. You and humans you control have hexproof. Black Panther is a human. Okay, he has hexproof when she's on the battlefield. Tap 2 mana, exile a card from your graveyard. Create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So you are the synergy with her and Black Panther is stupid, man. Come on now. All those cards in your graveyard, tap 2, create a 1/1, get his ETB trigger, put more counters on your land, then move the counters from a land onto another creature. This is just a cycle. This is just a cycle. Come on, y'all. This is easy. Next up, we got Kyla Sigardian Emissary. 5 mana. I think this guy goes super well with Black Panther. Human Cleric. He's a 2/2 body. He says whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Kyler. Other humans you control get +1/+1 for each counter on Kyler. Yeah. So you remember Secure the Waste that we showed earlier? You create human soldiers or human warriors. Okay, cool. You drop that with him. He's like, get +5/+5. Like, what are we doing here? This is easy synergy. Easy synergy. I don't even like explaining this. It should be obvious. So here, I kind of want to highlight more mechanics that you can add to your green-white deck Selesyna. First up, we have the Wandering Rescuer. 5 mana, 2 white, 3 colors, human samurai noble. It has flash. She's a 3/4 body. She has the ability Convoke. So what that means is you can tap creatures to add 1 mana of that creature's color or 1 color's mana to pay for this casting cost. So essentially, the Wandering Rescuer could be cast for free. She has double strike. Other tap creatures you control have hexproof. So this is a sneaky way to drop her into play, okay, for free, block with a creature, or make tap creatures have hexproof, just in case an opponent wants to exile Black Panther. You see where I'm going here? So if somebody throws a Swords of Plowshare, you're like, nah, player, tap 5 mana, flash her in. Oh yeah, tap Black Panther. Now he has hexproof because she came in. Other tap creatures you control have hexproof. I'm just saying. Next up, we got Coppercoat Vanguard. Coppercoat Vanguard is a human soldier for 2/2, 2 CMC. The reason why I like this and the reason why I think Black Panther is super powerful because he's 2 CMC. This is not an aggro deck, but it's aggro-ish. The low CMC, getting to play spells each turn, maximizing your turn and value. That's what green white does. It can be overwhelming if you do not have a board wipe opponents. Anyway, Coppercoat Vanguard says each other human you control gets +1/+0 and has Ward 1. Yeah, Black Panther is a human, so it makes him a 3/2 with first strike and Ward 1. Nobody who owns the Swords of Plowshare wants to pay 2 for Swords of Plowshare. The reason why it's in their deck because it costs 1 CMC. This is the moment y'all been waiting for. I know it. Thank you for making this video. However, the Cat Tribal Decklist will not come out until I know in the comments below that you want to see the Cat Tribal Decklist. So write Cat Tribal Decklist in the comment section. But I will give you one card, even if you're not Cat Tribal. I think it's super sneaky. Felidar Sovereign for 6 mana, 4/6 body cat beast. Vigilance, lifelink. He says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. Remember in the beginning of the video, I said when you move counters and you gain that much life? So if you have 10 counters on a target land, you're gaining 10 life. You can easily gain life and win with this game. And guess what? That Black Panther's ability is tap 3 at instant speed. Just game over by the turn happens. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. Super excited for the Black Panther and the Marvel set. In the top right-hand corner, I got cards for you. Actually, the 5 best pickups for Black Panther. If you haven't watched the video, go ahead and watch it. There's just more cards, more ideas. I'm just trying to bounce off. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to tell me in the deck list if you want the Cat Tribal and subscribe to the channel. Peace.